Hello, everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all having a great day. Hope you're all remembering to save money on the side. Create a savings account. Hope you're all remembering to invest as well. It is very important now more than ever. Very big thank you to everyone who leaves a like on the video. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. So you've heard the rumors, if you will. Apparently, this is going to be one of the craziest cryptocurrency cycles that we've ever had, ever. The predictions of a never-ending cryptocurrency Bitcoin bull run altcoin season continue to flow in our direction as we get more and more news of currency debasement, the US dollar losing value, countries' economies not doing wellies and essentially falling apart. This has been a big theme this year. It's been in the news more or less once a week. There are still expectations that next year is gonna be worse. Yay! I don't know how many of you are looking at financial news quite often, but there are expectations that next year a number of countries are going to go into a deep recession, and I air quote here, and that safe haven assets will kind of play a larger role price-wise, but also in garnering the attention of people around the world. And funnily enough, we keep hearing the idea of Bitcoin as, becoming digital gold, or Bitcoin being a safe haven asset also popping up more, which is just interesting because it's still Bitcoin. I only know like rambunctious, messy Bitcoin and not like stable and always there for you Bitcoin. But I guess that's another topic entirely. A company by the name of Swissborg. I assume they're in Switzerland. Swissborg founding partner, his name is Alex Fazel, believes that the market is entering a multi-year, structurally different bull phase that could deliver generational wealth, laying out what he calls, and I do quote here, an altcoin season Bible for 2025 to 2026 in a wide-ranging interview with Altcoin Daily. Understand, this is not the first time that we're hearing something like this. This is a widely held belief. And I think we've had two people who say, There was one person, this was maybe in August or September. There was one person who came forward and was like, no, the cycle looks exactly the same as it always has. Everyone else was like, nope, this is a completely different market than we've ever seen. On top of that, the other person who said that it looks like that the market might be relatively similar to what it was before, even they thought that the market is probably going to have an extended into 2026 bull run. We heard the same from, what have you. The idea would be that until like next summer or next autumn, 2026, that's when we might see some kind of a price pullback. And even then, the discussion then always becomes, if we do see a pullback, it won't be 70%, it won't be 80%, it might be 12, 15%. and then we'll gradually see prices rising once again, thus lending to the idea of this multi-layered, multi-year kind of bull run discussion. Every single person's talking about it. I told you, if this cycle is the same by the end of December, it should be crystal clear. Okay, it's the euphoric phase, that kind of thing. If by the time we get to February, I say February 15th, if we are still seeing prices moving up, it means, my friends, we have officially, because bull runs historically never last into the year after the halving. Never. They never have thus far. And usually, December, first week of January tend to be like the sell-off, end of euphoria kind of season. Tend to. If we get to February and prices haven't fallen, if we get to the 3rd of March and prices are still going up, it means all the rumors were true. We are officially in a multi-year bull run. Speaking in a probabilistic. I was like, who? Speaking in a probabilistic framework, that means like probably, Fazel argued that the confluence of a strengthening business cycle, easier monetary policy, and twin technology booms in crypto and Web3, as well as AI, creates the same kind of tailwinds that powered the post-dot-com recovery cycle in equities. He said, I really want to prove to everyone that this is the biggest cycle and the biggest chance for everyone to create generational wealth, adding that his views are expressed in probabilities rather than certainties. I'm glad you had to tell us that. I thought you were a wizard. I thought you just knew the future. No, these are always probably. This will probably happen. This will probably. But in many cases, for me, it begins to solidify when everyone is saying this. That's the same. Remember before, we had all these different analysts talking about prices, and they all came to the exact same conclusion, which has never happened before. So similar to you, I would love a multi-year bull run. We've never had one. We've never experienced it before. I mean, it would completely rattle and shake the Earth's economy to its core, as we are getting prolonged discussions and conversations of global economies going into recession next year, gold and Bitcoin kind of having a more prominent position in, hey, that over there is collapsing. Let's put my money into that instead. This idea of what Web3 and DeFi are going to do for crypto, you've noticed it. If you haven't been here the last 3 weeks, we've had a large amount of news about DeFi yield, Bitcoin on-chain yield, Grayscale, BlackRock, Fidelity, Ethereum ETF, staking. Everything is revolving around making sure that institutions get into the market and basically also stay, that they have a reason to continue to make money forever by simply holding on to the actual coins. So that's where we currently are. It seems believable, but also the last few years have been a little weird economically. So who the fudge knows what's about to happen? Fazel's market structure thesis centers on a familiar rotation. Bitcoin leading, followed by Ethereum and the top cap cohort, and then a broader dispersion into mid and small caps as Bitcoin dominance rolls over. He insisted that the current advance lacks the hallmark euphoria stage, a late cycle condition he considers statistically common and therefore still ahead. We always have thus far had a euphoric stage. It typically typically would typically happen in December. It's for whatever reason. It might be Christmas. It might be the holiday season. It sounds like a joke, but it's not. We had a theories years ago as to why this would happen. And it was always apparently Thanksgiving and Christmas. Why, you might ask? If you got into the cryptocurrency space and you saw that, theoretically, you put $1 into the market in January. By the time October got around, you had $16. I made a huge profit. When you saw your family for Thanksgiving, you would tell them, hey, guess how much money I made? Not in a bragging manner, but like, look what I did. How could this have happened? This then in turn, theoretically, we're told, gets a lot of people at the dinner table beginning to open up Coinbase accounts and Binance accounts. We usually around and after Thanksgiving, we would have news from Coinbase. We got another, 22 million accounts open. That was the news previously, what have you. And then that would lead into all this new money that entered the market would have logically risen prices. The rising in prices from people at Thanksgiving dinner who put another theoretical dollar would have $3 and they go, oh man, this works. So then they throw in $10 as opposed to the theoretical $1. Somebody throws in 100, prices go up higher. And then by the time we're nearing Christmas, this is the other euphoric thing because at Christmas time, everyone meets their families again. Everyone's really happy and they go, hey, I made a lot of money. Let's make some more. And then more money. This is what we've historically seen. So it's not to say that this euphoric stage won't happen. It's just that people believe, these people we've been hearing from, think that this might be more like smoothed out and spread out over a longer period of time. He said it is extremely rare to have a bull cycle without euphoria, noting that sizable drawdowns will punctuate the trend without invalidating it. He said, we won't see a long bear market anymore. We're going to see a very extended bull run, but with the really big corrections along the way. So, we'll see what happens. It sounds nice. A multi-year bull run sounds nice. As of now, I am still personally anticipating the normal cycle just because it's what we've always had. If you wake up every morning and you have breakfast, I'm anticipating breakfast. I'm not anticipating 17 meals over the course of the day. We will see by the end of winter if this is, if we're still moving up in price. If it is, it's going to cause madness in the market. If people realize that they should have or could have put extra money into the market that wouldn't have gone down in value but only continuously moved up for another 2 months, more companies and more retail investors will begin to throw huge amounts of money into the market, which then could once again lead into the idea of a 700, 800,000 million dollar Bitcoin by 2029, 2030. It would all then make a lot more sense. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I think in a couple of weeks, all of our questions will definitely be answered, but I'm very, very excited to see where all of this goes. That's the euphoria news. And yeah, let's move on. Also I guess, why not? Okay, sure, just do it. The US SEC is back in the news. They've been replaced, if you will. The previous SEC news that we had for about 7,000 years was always just doom and gloom and terrible and awful, and we don't know what we're doing, and Gary Gensler going rawr or something along those lines. All the news that we keep getting now from the SEC, I'm still skeptical, revolves around nice things and allowing companies to do this and allowing for more rules and regulations and clarity so that everyone's not running around like they're crazy. The United States Securities and Exchange Commission has issued a no-action letter effectively allowing investment advisors to use state-chartered trust companies as qualified custodians for crypto. This would basically kick open the door and allow a lot of companies within the space to be legal custodians for very large companies. They're always looking for someone to, custody of my coins and do this for the blah, blah, blah. Historically, it was like very few companies were allowed to do this, but it appears that if you have a good track record and you've been doing this and you have this certain paperwork and you blah, 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 then hey, you can already do it. According to the wording of the staff letter, state-chartered trust companies can provide crypto custodial services after due diligence from investment advisors. The SEC's no-action letter is in response to an earlier inquiry by the Simpson Thacher and Bartlett LLP seeking assurances that the SEC will not recommend enforcement action for treating state trust companies as banks. Under the Investment Advisors Act of 1940, yes, a lot of the SEC's laws on book are from the 20s, 30s, and 40s. You know, before everyone had a color TV, before we had the interwebs. Yeah, this is why the SEC feels a little outdated. Financial advisors are required to keep client assets with a qualified custodian, typically a bank or a trust company. However, state-chartered trust companies are generally not considered as eligible custodians for crypto assets, blah, 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 blah. Basically, for those of you who didn't catch on rather quick, this basically would allow, by default, Coinbase and Ripple to be recognized as qualified custodians. This basically opens up the door for a lot of companies in the space who have regulatory clarity, who have information, who have blah, 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 so-and-so, to basically start custodying hundreds of billions of dollars worth of crypto within the space. We've also been getting, if you missed it, a lot of, local government kind of news where, you're now allowed to hold crypto. People are allowed to stake their crypto. You're allowed to do this. So we're getting, it's all appreciated. This would have been wonderful 10 years ago. But I guess I'd rather have this news now than in 2038. So, yeah, this was also, oddly enough, quite popular news. I would assume it's because many of the articles did have the word Ripple, the company, in the name. And you think it's a joke. Anything that has to do with Ripple or XRP always becomes popular news. Coinbase is also on this path right now where they're trying to become I don't even know, what's the equivalent of that? They're trying to become like the one-stop shop for everything within the space. And with all this backing that they have, they might just get their wish. Yeah. All right, everyone. I think that's going to do it for this video. I do sincerely hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever the heck you might be. I do hope that it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.